Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. Today I'd like to share with you my latest journal. This is an antique book, dates back to the beginning of the 1900s, and I've preserved the cover the best I can. It was actually in quite a state, so the spine had completely collapsed, so I've had to make a new spine. I've used the back cover, but I have altered it, but the front I have kept as much of the original detail as I could. So to start with, the closure is this piece of leather. Looks like a belt, but it's actually too small to be a belt. I think it may be from an old picnic basket or something. It's quite a nice thick piece of genuine hide. So that's the closure. It isn't attached to the book, so it can be removed. This bit here is here purely to protect the book cover from the buckle. I thought maybe the buckle would scrape against the book cover, so I made this little pad here, which is obviously removable. So this is just some vintage cotton velvet and a bit of linen sewn on there. But as I say, that's purely to protect the book cover from the buckle. So the book is called the Silver Lattice. The spine I've made is a curved spine, and I've covered it in leather. I've embossed the leather with some flowers, added a bit of lace down the edge here. And on the spine I've attached this loop. The loop is actually attached through the spine, so you can't remove the loop, but you can remove the dangly bits that are hanging from it. So these are all just on bulb pins, so you could take these and attach them to a piece of lace or elsewhere within the book. And the tassels just made with various pieces of silk and ribbon and some beads on the ends. So we have a bit of raw silk here, printed silk, and various beads and bits of shell. The back cover, it's obviously the belt just goes all the way around, and I'll take that off and show you that. So the belt just removes like that. There are plenty of holes, so lots of room for expansion if you were to fill your journal with ephemera and paper inserts or whatever you put in it. There's lots of room there for the book to grow. Oh, is that strap? As I said, it's quite small, so I don't think it was a belt. Closer look at the book cover. So it has this lovely image of a little boy and girl sitting on the bed reading. I really haven't changed this much. I've cleaned it up. But it's in remarkably good condition considering it's over 100 years old. So it's been well looked after. And I've applied 2 coats of a sealer on there just to protect it, hopefully for a few more years. And then on the reverse, as I say, it was in quite a state, so I've had to add this image onto the back. I've added these pieces of gold mesh and decoupage some butterflies on there, and also added some gold leaf to the back there around the edges. Right, let's have a look inside. So inside the front cover there's the original end paper here, which was in good condition, so I decided to keep it. I've added a piece of linen down the spine edge here to attach the book block to the book itself. A piece of lace there. We have the original inscription here. This book at some point was a prize at a school, and it says summer term 1918. So I've left that there. Obviously you can stick something over it if you'd prefer it not to be there. On the first page we have an envelope just paper clipped here. And inside that envelope is just a note from the bookmaker. This is just a printout that Pam from the Paper Outpost kindly shared. So I printed that off and just included it in the envelope there. Just hooks over the top there. This envelope is from the Paper Cameo. There's quite a few Paper Cameo pieces in this journal. This page here is the original preface from the Silver Lattice book, and I've reinforced the spine edge with a piece of music paper. So here it says London 1909. On this page we have another printout from the Paper Cameo. I've made a little pocket on the back. This is parchment paper and it's just got an empty envelope in there, and it sits behind this embossed belly band. This is a piece of vintage music paper. It came from this music book. And this is entitled Autumn Leaves. And because of this, so it says Autumn Leaves up here, and I've chosen to put a couple of journaling cards in there which have autumn leaves printed on them. Again, Paper Cameo journaling cards. I have added some gold leaf to the bottom edge of the journaling cards and also stenciled around the corner here. This sits in a small pocket here, and then I have another journaling card here. They're just blank on the back, and this is a long pocket across the whole height of the book here. This is a piece of handmade paper which I've stenciled across the corner here. And sewn on a strip of paper there. This is some tea-dyed paper, and this here is a book page which I've chosen to use just because I love the illustrations in this book, and it's really nice thick paper. I've tea-dyed it and sewn a lace edge onto it. There's another lovely illustration there. This page is hand-dyed. Some washi tape down here. Lovely image there from a nature book. And this is the key to that image. So it tells you what the trees are, etc., the flowers. There's a piece here about animal camouflage, which I've camouflaged with this little wildflower sheet. another tea dyed page, oh, hand dyed page, and the other side of that book page. I've sewn a piece of lace onto the top corner there. That's the other side of the tea dyed paper and the other side of the handmade paper, which I've added some stenciling to. This is a piece of tea dyed paper. I added some rusty keys into this in the tea dyeing process, and they've left quite a nice impression on the paper. This is another paper cameo journaling card. I've added some gold leaf and a piece of gold mesh here. This is also hand dyed paper, or a piece of vintage velvet stuck on the top there, not stuck, sewn on the top. Handmade paper, and it has some gold marbling on it. I'm not sure if you can see that, but it's a little bit shiny. That's the original book page from the Silver Lattice book. This is an image from the paper cameo, printed on some 120 GSM champagne, what was it called? Iridescent champagne paper. This is hand dyed paper, and a little tag in the corner there, just in a little tuck spot in the corner there. Just make sure that I'm in frame. I am just about. Okay. Another original book page from the Silver Lattice. This is taken from a book of French masterpieces, so it's a reproduction of a painting that now hangs in the Louvre in Paris. I've backed it with some lined paper to make a journaling space. So this is the book that it was originally stuck into, and the details of the painting are here. And I've just, as I say, made a journaling card from that and a little tuck spot for it there. Bit of stenciling there, some more hand-dyed paper. This tag just hangs off the edge of the book. So it has a piece of raw silk at the top there, and at the bottom I've punched holes along the bottom of the card and then crocheted this lacy edge. And added a little shell dangly there, which, as I say, hangs off the bottom of the book in this embossed belly band. There's a piece of raw silk sewn on the edge there. This is a piece of tissue paper, which is printed with an atlas page. Some hand-dyed paper topped with a tag, a die-cut tag there. Some tea-dyed paper. This is a piece of vintage linen with a lace edge. Some hand-dyed paper with a bit of stenciling, and a piece of lace sewn down that edge also. This is tea-dyed paper with an impression left that was added during the dyeing process, so that's left quite a nice impression. This is a piece of hand-dyed paper. The other side of that tissue paper, piece of lined paper. This is a printout from Calico Collage. So this is just a little jar. It has a fairy there, and I've made it into a journaling card that sits in this embossed pocket here. Here we have more from the paper cameo. 2 journaling cards, well, a tag and a journaling card. And I've added some gold leaf to both of those, a piece of lace on that one and some gold mesh on that one. This here is a piece of vintage lace. It is actually, or was originally, a collar. If you imagine this, another one of these here, So you would stitch them onto a blouse or a dress to make a Wednesday Addams style collar. And I've tea dyed that. It just makes a little pocket. Over the top here I have this little paper cluster. It has a piece of vellum on the top, which and then some handmade paper here that I've stenciled. This is quite substantial. Here, that is quite a substantial piece of paper. And on the back there is a piece of mulberry silk tissue paper. So that's very thin, that paper, as you can see. I think you can see. And I've just hooked that over the top here. That's another original book page. Here we have a little tag that I've collaged with some postage stamps, some music paper, book page, bit of stenciling. This card is actually a clocking in card from the 1960s, so it would be in a workplace, so in a factory, somewhere like that, and you would put it in a machine to stamp the time that you arrived, the time that you left, and then the number of hours that you worked would be added up, and the amount that you were due to be paid would be added here. So that's a clocking in card. It just sits there. Hand-dyed paper. This here is a bookmark that's attached to the spine. It's the salvage edge of a piece of raw silk, and I've just put a little silver bead on the end there, and that can just mark your page anywhere within the book. On the top here we have another envelope from Paper Cameo. This one has a little postcard in it of a flower fairy. So I think this is the elm fairy. It's not a vintage card. I've just made it look vintage style. I've tea dyed it. I thought it looked quite nice in that envelope. So there we go. And this is a piece of Tim Holtz paper. Another tag there made from a clocking in card. So that's a vintage clocking in card. I've embossed this one. I don't know if you can see that, but there's a bit of a embossed flower impression there. Here we have a page that I've corner punched. Again, quite nice paper. It's hand-dyed paper with a stitched pocket here, and in the pocket I've put this, it's just a little batch of lined paper for journaling. I've sewn it together and sewn all around the edge. And this is an image from a vintage book. It's not an original. I've printed it out. It was in the public domain, so I thought I'd use it. But it's a lovely image, and I've just used it to cover this little book and put a little plate there to write on. I put it in that way because I thought the auburn of her hair nicely reflects the auburn on this fox illustration. So that's another of those lovely book pages. More hand-dyed paper. Here we have quite a large pocket, and in that I've just put a printout of some ledger paper. As I say, it's a printout, not an original, but I thought it looked rather lovely with this nice handwriting. So that's just a little bit of extra journaling space. And I liked the colour here. It's similar to the tea-dyed page here. This page has some lace, a lace impression, which was added in the tea dyeing process. So that leaves quite a nice pattern on there. Here we have a page. This has got a nice texture, this paper. I've purposely added it to the middle of the signature because not everyone likes butterflies or moths en masse. My daughter really hates this page, so I put it in the middle here to make it easy to remove if you don't like it. Personally, I quite like it. That's the other side of that tea dyed paper. I have a little tag here, another of those clocking in cards with the moths on it, and a little pocket here with a tag on the side. That book paper, another bit from the paper cameo. So that's just a bit of journaling space there. Sits in that pocket. Paper cameo again, some gold leaf and some gold mesh. Tea dyed paper with a little bit of a leaf impression there. That's the other side of the Tim Holtz paper with some lace sewn down the edge. This has been hand dyed, and this leaf impression was added in the dyeing process, so that looks quite effective. Piece of lace sewn on the bottom there, and here we have just a little paper cluster hooked on the edge of that pocket. Some more vintage music paper. This one has come from this book. So that's the original music book. Some more tea dyed paper with some dye added here. So that's again a piece of lace was added to make this impression in the tea dyeing process or dyeing process. And I thought this green nicely reflects the fern on this doily here. Nice thick paper there. Piece of tea dyed paper with a little bit of silk added there. This is a lovely illustration from the original Silver Lattice book. And despite being over 100 years old, it's retained its colour beautifully. It looks really lovely. More hand-dyed paper. This is a page from a wildflower book. And that just folds out. So as you can see, there's no particular theme to this book. I've tried to keep the colours to a minimum, mainly greens and beige, brown, just to keep the book cohesive, but it's quite eclectic really, not, as I say, not a particular theme. Here we have, this is a piece of honesty sandwiched in between some translucent paper, just to, I don't know if you can see that, but you can actually see through this, and there's some real honesty in there, just sandwiched in there. And then some card around the edges, and that's another embossed pocket, just a little corner pocket. Tea dyed paper with the lace edge, that's the other side of that doily. More tea dyed paper, the other side of the music paper, tea dyed paper. No, that's colour, isn't it? That's got some dye in it. So with these pages, I did tea dye them, but they've also got some colour added. This is just tea dyed, and the image is an impression that was left in the tea dyeing process. It has a little tag at the top. more tea-dyed paper. Oh, this is a piece of old ledger, so you can see the red lines down here. So it's tea-dyed. Piece of parchment here, another original illustration from the Silver Lattice book. More hand-dyed paper with a little piece of cotton sewn on the corner there. Tea-dyed paper with a leaf image there. Here we have a little postcard. Again, it's not an original, it's just made to look vintage. It's a vintage advert advertising some cigarettes, but I quite like the green of her hat and gloves. Nicely reflects the green in this atlas, or picks out the green in the atlas. There's some more hand-dyed paper. A little envelope here, and in this envelope is a little vintage photograph of a pretty mountainous area. I think it's, I don't know, Switzerland or somewhere. It has a deckled edge and a little picture of a church or something there. Here's a piece of, this is gold, it's called gold dust paper. It's quite a nice thick piece of paper, and I've embossed it with some flowers and then just put it in there to, well, to sit and look pretty really, but for you to use however you wish to use it. A Silver Lattice book page, parchment paper. This is a nice deep pocket with just a journaling card there, and this is more from the paper cameo. A piece of lace sewn on the top, and it's sewn all the way around the edge. Another little tag there in a pocket. That has a piece of leather on the top and a piece of lace. And we're at the end of the book. So here we just have a stenciled corner. That's my label, so it just says Tiki Handmade Journals, made in England. And I've put this as book number 1. It isn't book number 1. I've made lots of journals in the past. I've made journals for friends and family and by request of friends, but this is the first journal that I've put up for public sale, so I thought I'd call it book number 1. Again, on the back we have an original end paper and a piece of linen, piece of lace sewn down there, and I've added these metal book corners. The book has been bound using an Oxford hollow spine, so I don't know if you know what that is, but basically it means that the book will open relatively flat, so you can write quite easily in it because it does open quite nice and flat. So the reason it's called Oxford hollow is because when you lay it flat, it pops out like this, making a hollow in the spine. And then when you close the book, it just pops back in. I don't know if you can see there. So we've got a curved spine, and it just, when you open it up, it pops out like that. Okay, right, let's give you some measurements. So it is, I think, around about 7 inches. 7 inches, so about 18 centimetres, by about 9, almost 9.5, just under 9.5, 24 centimetres. And the spine, I think, is about 2 inches, there, 2 inches. As you can see, it's quite full at the moment, but still lots of room for expansion. Can you see that when I squeeze it together? So lots of room to put stuff in if you want to. So it has room to grow. So we have 5 signatures in here, and 92 leaves, so 92 pages, giving you 184 sides of paper. I've bound it with a 5-hole pamphlet stitch. Don't think there's more to say about that. Okay, I hope you like the journal, and thank you for visiting my channel. See you soon. Bye.